Hello and welcome to our channel. We're on our road to Euro 2020/21, which is what we're in at the minute. I don't know what they're calling it, but we'll go with Euro 2020. We're going to be previewing games, having match reactions to games and focusing on the Euro tournament as a whole. But for this week, we're going to be solely focusing on England and the week ahead. So I'm going to introduce all the boys. We've got Ryan, Seb and Justin. So our first point to you guys is, where do you feel like England are at this stage with 5 games to go? If we're looking at the 5 games we've got coming up, we've got San Marino, Albania, Poland, which are World Cup qualifiers, and then we've got Austria and Romania friendlies. But for me, I think Southgate would be looking at all 5 of those, gearing up to this tournament that we've got in the summer. So, Ryan, where do you feel like we are as a squad going into this tournament at the minute?
To be honest, I feel a bit underprepared. If we cast our minds back to the 2018 World Cup, I thought we was in much better shape. I thought we had a set formation. I thought you could pretty much name the lineup. So yeah, on that basis, I feel like we are a bit underprepared. The World Cup, we were great. We got to the semi-final. You can't take that away from Southgate. He done something we hadn't done since 1990. And we backed that up with a decent Nations League performance, didn't we? We had Spain and Croatia in the group. And we got through that, and ultimately a couple of mistakes. I think it was Holland, wasn't it, that we went out. But then we breezed through qualifying for Euro 2020. I think we had one slip up against Czech Republic. But it's sort of unravelled, hasn't it? Really bad in 2020. I think that we had a poor performance in the Nations League. We failed to beat Denmark over 2 games. We beat Belgium, but then they absolutely dominated us in the second game. And then we're just sort of playing too defensive. He's playing 2 holding midfielders. We were playing right backs at left back. We completely lost our discipline. We're seeing red cards for Maguire, James, Walker, Foden and Greenwood. They were bringing girls back to the hotel when we was in a bubble. Sancho and Tammy, they were in the parties as well. So it just felt like the whole squad had just lost complete discipline. And you had the whole circus around Jack Grealish's call-up as well. With Southgate deflecting everything on poor Mason Mount, which Mason Mount was playing all right, to be fair, but he just copped it because it was a Southgate's deflection tactic. So I just feel like 2020 was an absolute complete mare, and it's good that we've got 5 games now to really get our teeth into and get settled and try and find a winning formula to take into the competition.
I think these 5 games are absolutely crucial now to rubber stamp what we are, what we're about, the formation, what we're going to play, and the personnel that are going to be in that. Like you say, I feel like we had a brilliant World Cup, but for me, it feels like we've regressed rather than progressed. We haven't sort of gone on a level, have we? We sort of still no clearer to knowing the direction that we're going in and what sort of formation or what team we're going to play. So that's a slight worry for me, because I think if you look at all good top international sides, you can sort of name sort of 4, 5, 6 players that are going to be playing. But for us at the minute, we're going to pick our best 11 that we think. But we're probably all going to pick a totally different midfield, totally different defence, a totally different keeper. The only player that you're going to pick probably the same is probably Harry Kane. So, Justin, what are your thoughts on us at the minute?
I think we've missed a trick here, lads, because it's the first international pod. I think we should have been doing something. No, seriously. I think going back from Southgate, when we had the job, he sort of got the job by default, didn't he? Because of what happened to Big Sam. and he got the job, did really well. I think he came in really with no expectations, and he was a breath of fresh air when he took the job on. He kept saying, "I'm just going to pick players on their form, not on their reputation. I don't care about reputations. You know, if they're playing well for the club, they're going to play for me." And he took that into a World Cup, and it was like it reminded very much of Italian '90 with Robson. You know, no real. I don't know if any of you, well, I suppose you and Ryan would remember it really. No expectations, and we got better and better and better in the tournament. And I think he just rolled with it. And then ever since that tournament, I think, like you said, he's regressed. He's regressed because he's basically turned into every other England manager we've ever had. He picks players because they're his favourites now. He's sort of forgotten this. I'm just going to pick players on the form. I mean, Jack Grealish should have been playing for England 12 months ago. Not when he did. It was a disgrace that he got called up so late. You know, and even when his first few games, he was still trying to sort of play him off as, he's still got a lot to learn. When everybody knew he was man of the match in 3 out of his first 4 games. So I think he's just fell into this trap of as the old England manager. You know, he's picking his favourites now, not really form players. And it's a shame, but obviously COVID's had a huge impact on the international team. It's been really difficult to, cancelling the tournament last year when they was just gearing up for it. So he's had another 12 months to get it round it. And like you've both said, really, he hasn't really settled on his best team yet. And with 5 games to go, these are really, really critical games to go into a tournament. You're going to want to, at the very least, settle on your first 11 by at least the 3rd or 4th game so you can play your best 11 in the last 2. And hopefully build a bit of momentum. You know, we have got some extremely good footballers. You know, we should be putting together a squad of 23, I think it is, that should be going to the Euros and have a very good chance of winning it. I'm not saying we're going to win it, but I think we should be going there with the expectation of at least doing quarterfinal, semi-final, with a strong win behind us. So, huge games coming up. You know, England is a very difficult thing for club supporters, isn't it? You get a lot of club supporters that, don't really care about England, but I've always been a massive England fan. You know, my earliest memories was Maradona 86 World Cup, so I go back a long way. And I've always wanted us to win. I don't get would you rather win an international tournament or a club tournament? I'd rather win both. I want my country to be successful. I want my club to be successful. And the way the country gets behind the team during these tournaments is fantastic. And quite frankly, we need it, don't we? What would be better than 21st of June coming out of lockdown and we'll be in the middle of a European tournament? It's going to be brilliant. And if the team can get anywhere near where there was in the World Cup, then it should be a great summer.
Definitely. What are your thoughts on it, Seb?
Yeah, I mean, I think the boys summed it up perfectly. The problem Southgate has is he almost has too many quality options for him. I mean, you look at that midfield and attack, and this is probably one of the first tournaments we've come into where there's going to be some world-class players missing out. You look at the disposal he's got, and he's got so many different options, but they all play different variations of football at club level. So that always makes it really difficult for them to come in and adapt straight away. He's almost got to find a system that suits all of them, which is, of course, is really difficult.
Yeah. So the next 3 games that we've got this week, for me, I'd like to see the same defence if possible. Obviously, to play 3 games is quite a tough ask. So for maybe 2 of them, I'd like to see a settled back 4, which I hope he does play instead of a 3. And just personnel-wise in that team that we're going to start seeing going into this tournament now, and more of like the philosophy of where we're going to go. So, Ryan, what do you want to see from the next 3 games?
Well, I think San Marino, that's a training match, isn't it? That's just, you can get some uncapped players in, get them some minutes. Albania, a little bit more of a competitive training match. That we should breeze that. But then we move on to Poland, and that's where we should really, really get a feel of how he's going to line up, what formation he's going to do, what style we're going to use to approach the tournament. So I think it's a good period of time. He gets his players on the training pitch. 5 games at this stage of the season, heading into a tournament, is a rarity. You normally only got a couple of warm-ups left now, so he's got a good amount of time on the training pitch with the players. So that could be very good for us.
Yeah, Justin.
Yeah, I agree, Ryan. I think the first 2 games, almost pick a different team in each game, can't you? You should breeze them comfortably, so get confidence up. Poland probably aren't as strong as they was a few years ago. Lewandowski's obviously the standout player for them. They have got a couple of decent midfielders as well, so that'll be more of a threat for us, really. But a good, like Ryan said again, it's a good test for us, really, going into then a couple of months before this, with the next games at Austria and Romania friendlies. Yeah, I mean, he's got to just, if he's not got a settled team by them 2 friendlies, then I think we'll go into the tournament in trouble. So I think he's just got to make sure he's nails down in his head. I don't really care who he plays in these first 2 games, because, like you say, we're going to win him whatever 11 goes out. So mix and match, get a good idea in his head, and then Poland start nailing down your 11 then for the Euros.
Seb?
Yeah, I mean, the boys alluded to it. You look at that San Marino game, we've played them 6 times and we've got an aggregate score of 37-1. So I think that one writes itself. Albania's sort of along the same line, played them 4 times with an aggregate score of 12-1. But then Poland is where we'll see where we're at. Obviously, Lewandowski today got confirmation from the Bundesliga that he was allowed to play in that. So he'll be a threat. Those are possibly 2 of the best number 9s in world football on each team. We've won 11, drawn 7 and lost 1 against Poland. So we've still got a good record despite their qualities. And if you just look at their defence a minute, Jan Bednarek, Southampton player, he'll probably have Harry Kane going up against him. Harry Kane's already scored 1 league goal against him this season, so he knows how he plays. And then in goal, it will be between Szczesny and Fabianski. And if it is between Fabianski, again, Harry Kane's already scored 2 league goals against him this season. So there's quite a few players there where we'll know how to play against them, so we'll be able to adapt and adjust well.
Yeah, the Poland game's the one that I'm looking forward to. Obviously the most out of all of them, and obviously hoping that Watkins can maybe get a start against San Marino, and then obviously maybe Calvert-Lewin for the other game. Maybe that's what I'd like to see anyway. So what I've asked the lads to do is to pick their 11, which would be going into the first game of the Euros, formation-wise as well, just what they would go for. We'll put them on screens as well when they're talking about them, so everybody's team, you'll be able to see what they're going with. So for me, I've gone for a 4-3-3. I've not gone 3 at the back, because for me, I feel like when we come up against the better teams, it ends up being 9 at the back and we just can't get out. And I just think we're just better off. We've got, like Seb said, and like everybody said, we've got some really talented players in this squad now. And probably for one of the first times, I'm really excited about this England team. We've got some talent all the way through that pitch. So hopefully we can go deep into this tournament. So for me, in goal, I'm going for Pickford. Probably controversial-ish, but I feel like he's getting better now at Everton. He's having a decent season now. At the back, I've gone right back, Trent Arnold. I've gone centre back, Maguire and Mings, and left back, I've gone Shaw. I would put Trent back in this squad now. Southgate alluded to that he might come back in the squad, but I feel like we keep saying, we need a settled squad now, and I think Trent probably for me should be in it. I've gone for a holder of Declan Rice. And my 2 in front of him in midfield, I've gone for Mason Mount and Phil Foden. And then my 3 up front, 3 leading the line, I've gone Grealish, Kane and Sterling for my front 3. The reason why I've gone Foden is I just think he's quality, he's great on the ball. And I just would like to see us with a little bit more creativity rather than going for Jordan Henderson. So that's my team. So Ryan, what's your starting 11?
Well, I went Nick Pope in goal. As much as Pickford's got the experience of the World Cup, I've just been really impressed with Pope this season. But I sort of agree with you. Pickford is coming back into a bit more form. I went with Stones and Maguire at the back, Luke Shaw left back, and Kyle Walker, I've gone right back. I think he's having a terrific season. But I sort of had a little caveat there of Trent Arnold underneath as well, because there's a certain Jack Grealish in my team that can win a lot of free kicks, and he can put, Trent's brilliant at set pieces, isn't he?
Yeah.
I sort of went for 2 number 6s really, with Declan Rice and Jordan Henderson. I went Jordan Henderson because he's a leader, and I'm looking at that team and I'm thinking he does need another leader along with Harry Kane. Plus, he's probably our most decorated player of the last couple of years. He's won the European Cup and the League and the World Club Cup. So I put him in there for experience. Luke Shaw at left back as well. I think he could link up well with my left winger, Jack Grealish. I think he plays quite similar to Target when Matty Target's off the leash and he can get forward. So I think there could be a good link up with them too. I went Phil Foden in the 10. I've undecided whether Phil Foden or Mount. And I went Sterling on the right. Again, Sterling's form has been great. Sancho, or I could move Foden out to the right and have Mount in the middle. So there's so many options there. And then once I submitted this team, I thought James Maddison's had a terrific season as well. So there's so many options along that front three. And I think everyone's going to have Harry Kane up front, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. To be fair, I have put Foden in my central midfield, but I do think he would go, like everything you've just said, he will go Henderson. If he's going to go anything, he'd go Henderson and Rice for me. That's what I think he would go with. I just love Phil Foden, so I just thought, for me, he's in there. But I think that's a great team as well. Like you say as well, the Sterling sort of Sancho one, do you know what I mean? It's going to be such a difficult decision for him to make which one he goes for.
And Rashford as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Rashford, where Grealish plays, do you know what I mean? Is Grealish going to go inside more number 10? Just don't know.
I think whoever we all pick, I think that forward three can interchange throughout the game. They've all got that quality to swap positions.
Definitely. Justin, you're up next.
Yeah. Okay. Pope in goal. I think Pickford's injured, isn't he, at the moment? He's not in this squad, I think, if I'm right. So I think Pope's going to get a chance to be the number 1, and I think he'll probably take it. Pickford's form very up and down. My 2 centre-halves, I've gone with Mings and Stones. I think Southgate will go with Maguire, but I would go with Mings and Stones. I think they've been the 2 forget Conser, he's been the standout defender in the league, but he's not going to get in the squad, is he now? So I wouldn't think. So for me, Mings and Stones, 2 centre-halves. I've gone for Chilwell at left back. I think he's had a bit of an up and down season, and he's been in and out of the Chelsea side, but just recently he's really started to come back into form. The only one for me is Shaw. I also think another player that's come massively into form recently this season. He looks good. So I think whoever plays out of them 2 wouldn't do a bad job. I've gone with Ryan like that. I've gone Walker more for his experience. I think Trent's had, by his standards, a very, very poor season, like a lot of Liverpool players have. And I think he will make the squad. Then he'll have a decision to make when the first game comes around, seeing how he is. But for me, Walker, he's so quick. He's so good on the ball. He can play centre half. He's great in the air. He's a great option for right back. I've gone for 2 holding midfielders, Rice and Henderson, so very similar to Ryan. You've got, for me, you look at the other sort of holding midfielders around the squad, like Phillips and Winks and players that have played. Henderson, he's not I'm not a massive fan of Henderson, but I see what he brings to a team. He's the kind of player that when he's in your team, you really, really rate him. And he's like Ryan again said, he's won everything recently. So you need that bit of experience in the team. He's been there, done it, played in big games. Then I've gone 3 in front of that. Grealish, standard left, easy, get in there, no problem. Foden in the 10. For me, probably up there with Jack Grealish, is one of the best players this season. The lad, he's not even 20 yet, is he? And he's absolutely unbelievable. He could have. We all think about what Grealish is going to do in this tournament, but we could have 2 players that will just burst on the scene this tournament. For me, Foden, I can't see him not playing him. I really can't, because I think his form is that good. He's just got to play him. On the right, a bit similar to Henderson, I think he'll go with Sterling, and I would go with Sterling. And not that he's been great this season, and recently he's had up and down again. But he brings masses of experience, masses of knowledge and know-how. So you do need that sprinkled into it, to a youthful side for me. Obvious one, Kane up front. I hope he stops his histrionics and this daft thing that comes into his game recently, especially against us, when he's just looking for these fouls all the time. He's without doubt, in the top bracket of strikers in the world, not in our country, everywhere. There's very few players on his level finishing, and now he's got this ability to drop off and pick passes and stuff. He's got everything. So why he's got this into his game, I don't know. So hopefully Southgate will have a word with him, tell him to stop that daftness out. And yeah, and there's loads of players, in the fringes, aren't there? Sancho, Mount, Rashford. We've got a brilliant set of players, haven't we? If only the manager can harness that team and then players, we could have a massive Euros.
The squad's quality.
It's unbelievable. When you said to write it, I kept thinking like Ryan. I kept going, okay, I'll play him there. That's easy. And I thought, crap, I forgot about him. Jesus, what about him? I haven't even put Maddison in here, and I haven't. There's just quality everywhere. It is a tough job. You not only have you got to pick the right players, but you've got to mould them into a team. And we're going into a tournament for me with as good a squad, especially attacking wise, as we've had for a very, very long time.
I think so. I think we've got one of the best squads we've had in years.
I think France '98 was the last best squad I think we went to, with Scholes, Beckham, Owen had broke in. The team we had then, how we didn't. Well, it's travesty that we don't do better in tournaments. The players we go
I
in
didn't
with.
get to see that one.
Deb, what's your team then?
So I've overlooked Pickford and I've gone for Pope. I just think in that Burnley team, he faces a lot of shots at goal. He's made double the saves of Pickford this season. He's got a higher save percent rate. Also, I like how he throws the ball out. Pickford's more prone to punch it, hit, whereas Pope will bring it down, roll it out, look to start a fluid attack. Obviously, Burnley don't play like that, but Pope has the right intentions. Then a back four, I've gone for Kyle Walker. Again, I just think he's more reliable than Trent. He's conceded less in less games that he's played, more blocks. He's won more aerial battles as well. He's better in the air and he's got a higher pass completion. Quite controversially, I've gone for centre-back partnership of Stones and Lewis Dunk. Stones has had a terrific season at Manchester City this season. I think he's been really good. Now, Dunk is an odd one because he hasn't had an England cap yet. So it's not realistic. However, it was between Dunk and Konsa for me. And I put them head to head. And in the same amount of appearances, Dunk has made 3 times the passes forward than Konsa. He's got a higher pass completion rate, higher passes forward, and he's been dispossessed last times and also made a few lower errors leading to goals. I mean, obviously stats don't mean anything, but in the Brighton side that has really struggled this season, he's really solidified that defence, and I like how he's brought Ben White up from the Championship and he's nurtured him into a brilliant Premier League centre-back. However, I don't think it's probably realistic. And then my left back, Luke Shaw, compared to Chilwell, he plays more passes forward, he's created more big chances, he's got a higher cross completion rate, and he's made more tackles defensively. In the midfield, I've gone for Rice in the holding role. I think compared to Henderson, he's made more shots, more blocks, more interceptions, more tackles, and more headed clearances. I think that height brings something, because if we're under the cosh, he can sit back in front of the back four and just protect them. And then 2 in front of him Luke's favourite player, Phil Foden, the new Scott Parker, and Mason Mount. Mason Mount, I think, brings more than Maddison. Again, he's made 4 times more passes than Maddison in the same amount of appearances. He's got a higher pass completion rate. He makes more crosses. But I like his defensive efforts. He's made more interceptions, more tackles, and he's got more aerial battles won. So I think with those two, if Foden could push further forward, that allows Mount to just drop back a little bit if needs be. I think Foden speaks for itself. He'll go on to have one of the best careers in English football. He looks amazing. And then my front 3 of Sterling, Grealish and Kane. Grealish and Kane speak for themselves, really. And then I was tossing up between Sterling and Rashford. I was going Rashford crossing it out, putting Sterling crossing it out. They're very, very similar players, but like Justin alluded to, I think Sterling just brings that little bit of experience with him. He's done it before. He's played in these big tournaments, whereas Rashford, although he's made appearances, he's probably lacking the experience compared to Sterling. And if Grealish, for some reason, unlike him, is having a poor game, I think Sterling would be able to nurture him through and help him through. So, yeah, that's my final 11.
Justin still in shock about you've just put Dunk in.
That's the
so
most
random,
left.
Seb.
That's the left fieldish call up we've had on this podcast.
Mate, left field. He's not even in the stadium.
Jeez, I didn't put Constring 'cause I thought that was controversial.
Yeah, I was the same.
I was going to put Dean Henderson in goal, but I mean,
I know. I looked at Dean Henderson. He's going to be a top keeper.
I
think
think
if
ahead of Henderson.
If Seb's putting Lewis Dunk in, I've got a chance of playing centre half for England at this World Cup.
yeah. Right, so that's just our little episode thinking about who we were going to pick as our lineups for the Euros. Drop your thoughts in as well. Drop who you think's the best 11. We'd like to know what you've got to say as well. So we always finish on score predictions. So this one's right up Justin's high number street. So let's go. Score prediction versus San Marino. I'm going to go 5-0. Justin?
8-0.
Seb?
7-0.
Ryan? I've never heard you say score so high.
6-0 for me.
6-0. To be fair, I've won a few football bets from putting 5-0 England with San Marino. So that's
sometimes there are never as many goals as you think they're going to be in these games. You might get a rush in the first half, then second half it just drops off.
I was debating going for a 0-0 draw just to see Justin have a cardiac arrest.
The odds on that? What are the odds on that? That's got about 200 to 1, surely.
I might go for it.
So thanks everyone for watching. It's a different type of feel from us. It's more of an international feel as well. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. So thanks for watching.